Hey guys, gals, happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday Night Live, and we're live. Hopefully volume's good. Last week had a little issue. Actually ended up being the batteries were going dead in the microphone. So hopefully that's it's all good now. So tonight we're going to talk about coolants in our cooling system. We went over the cooling system last week, the different designs of radiators, water pumps, and the gallon per minute flow capacity, thermostats and restrictors. So we kind of covered that pretty good. So tonight I wanted to do something about the fluids we're going to put in our vehicle. So both street driven hot rods, classics, and of course race cars. Hey Ryan, good to see you in tonight. Pictures of the truck are phenomenal. Now you just got a lot of blocking to do and get some color on that thing. It's going to be crazy. Love seeing pictures of it. So yeah, so that's pretty much what we're going to work on tonight. As far as shop updates, 4200 guys, we got the Garrett turbo back from Garrett. They had to replace the center cartridge. They said the old turbine housing, which had some rust problems, but they're claiming that the turbine housing messed up one of the sections of the housing, which then created bind, and that's where the problem with the turbo was. So in that cartridge, there's like a metal can behind the turbine wheel. So I'm not sure what it does, but it's just a tin can. I mean, it's pretty thick, but it's not massive, and it's not billet by any means. And so I guess that got compromised from heat or rust. I'm not sure. I'm just going by what ATP had told us. But nevertheless, they gave Leo a break on the new cartridge. We already had a new turbine housing. It didn't have the wastegate mount on it, but we'll go ahead and work on that. And then I got to make a fixture for that on the welding table, and I got to get some cast stainless tube and the flange for the wastegate, and then I'll be able to replicate that. So we'll get that going. And then I worked on the LS engine for the Cup car. I got that completely assembled. Let me show you. I got some pictures of that. So there's the assembled engine. This picture, I just finished putting the long block together and was kind of just putting components on to see how it would look. I got adapters to put the Ford valve covers on the LS engine at the GM intake, but I turned it around so the GM logo is on the back. And I disassembled a MSD billet distributor to make a fake distributor. So that's what front end view. There's a side view. You can see the Ford valve covers and stuff. And I used the ICT billet accessory brackets to kind of make it not look GM-ish and kind of hide the bulk of the GM LS water pump. So yesterday I was able to actually get the motor in the car. Oh, there's a picture of my fake distributor. So I put it in the lathe and cut the guts out of it, and I made a bracket that bolted onto the front of the valley cover. They got welded together. There you can see light through the cap. I drilled out all the brass terminals so that the 8.5 millimeter plug wires will go right through it. So there's the motor in in the car. Get you a little closer up. So you can see I got the headers on, I got the proper accessories on it. So I think it did a pretty good job masking the engine. I'm going to mount the coils down low so the plug wires will go up behind the water pump through the distributor cap and out to the spark plug. So I believe that, a good portion of the masses looking at it will believe that it's a Ford engine. Only the discriminating LS guys will be able to pick it out. So should be pretty cool. Hope to have it making good progress. So I'm hoping to be able to get it to a car show this weekend. We'll see how that works out. I don't have all the Lexan done in it yet, but at least if I can get it running or drive in and out of the trailer, I can at least do its first showing, and we can go from there. There's a... Oh, what happened there? There we are. So you can see there, got the windshield and all that in. Bring it in a little closer. So I think it came out pretty good. You guys have to let me know what you think. But yep, sorry about that. So yeah, so that's where we're at. Where's my cursor? There we go. Yeah, so that's where it's at. I'm in the middle of shortening the wiring harness. So it's minimal. Everything be tucked up under the intake and around the back of the block, so we won't see any wiring. I'll have all the fuel lines and stuff tomorrow, so I think it'll work out good. I think should be plenty of horsepower for the car. Put an ACT lightweight flywheel with a puck style clutch in it. Right now it just has a Sagnol 4-speed in it, which I don't think it's going to matter because the back of the car's got a 514 gear in it, so I don't think it matters what you have in it for gear ratios and stuff. It's going to be what it is, But we'll probably end up changing the gear and stuff. That's why I'm pushing to get this together. That way I have a good solid 4 or 5 weeks before LS Fest, so I can get the car ironed out. Still haven't been able to get autocross tickets yet. That sold out very quick, but I'm got my fingers crossed. Ryan says, loved it on Facebook. Good looking Ford. Thanks. Yeah, I originally had plans to make this street legal and do all kinds of stuff with it, but the car is in such good, solid shape. I mean, there's almost no rust on the car. Just a little surface rust here and there, little spots. So I don't really looking to cut up the nose and the tail cones for the lights just yet. I want to kind of get it out and get it out to the public and see what people think. And HSR and the Historic Stock Car Racing Association joined forces, and there's a couple other clubs that are out there running these cars, so they're getting very popular. It was just a big article right up in Grassroots Motorsports about these cars for track days and stuff like that. So that kind of got me thinking maybe I should hold up on my plans a little bit. I can still make it burnout and autocross. That's basically track prep, track day prep. So, but yeah, as far as making it street legal, I've held back on that now. I don't want to modify the car to where if somebody wanted it for that reasoning, that it'd be messed up. And you never know. When I get the car out there, I may run into somebody that knows anything about it. I've found more and more part numbers and serial numbers on the car, so maybe with some luck I might be able to figure out actually what it was, where it actually came from, and if it has any historical value. Not that would change my mind as far as resale or anything like that, but I don't want to mess up history if somebody was interested in it for the historical value. Just like the engine, I bolted it to the factory mounts, the factory Laughlin race car mounts, so that motor will come right out, and I've got the brackets to go right back with a Ford engine, so that didn't change anything. And the transmission's basically the same. They had a Chevy trans to the Ford engine before anyway, so that stuff I don't think is going to have any consequence. So yeah, so that's it. You know, new calipers, got brand new master cylinders. Well, let me rephrase that. I got new to this car calipers. They were in good race condition, and I put brand new master cylinders, replaced brake lines, so the car's going to be safe. All the fuel lines and fuel cell and all that's all been replaced, so it should be a pretty good ride all along. But that's the update on that. I did not. So I got these pieces from I think it's 3D keychains. You can look them up on Holly pages and Facebook. But he makes these pieces that they come apart. You can drill a large hole in your firewall, and then they make so 1, 2, or 3 bundle holes to run your Dominator, HP, Terminator X harness. So I got this one for the NASCAR. I've got one for Dave Chevelle. So I was able to I've already fabricated the new transmission harness for his car, so that's done, and I'm ready to do the EFI harness. So that thing's moving along also. And that's pretty much it. I got Mike's car's just about done. Just got some more road testing to do that. So all those things are moving along. Even though I took a break and tried to knock the Cup car out, but we're getting close with it. So anyway, let me change screens here. So tonight's topic is going to be on water, coolant, stuff that you need to put in your radiator, additives, etc. So that's just about quarter till, so let's go ahead and take a look at that stuff. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. So in racing, you can't run glycol, ethanol, regular green coolant. You can't, because it's hard to clean up. It doesn't evaporate, so there's all kinds of different waters out there. So we have to find what works the best. So that picture is small. So that's just regular drinking water, tap water, if you will. This is not what you want to put in your new aluminum radiator or cooling system. There's way too many minerals and chemicals in the water. You got chlorines and all that stuff, and all the different minerals. Depending on what part of the country you live in, there's different mineral and chemical makeup. So you want to stay away from tap water. This is the best thing to use, and that's distilled water. Distilled water, when they distill it, removes all the minerals and chemicals out of it, so you got just plain clear water. So you want to run water, distilled water. You can use reverse osmosis. I thought I had the next picture there. So anyway, you can use reverse osmosis, but that's not guaranteed to be mineral free. So distilled is your friend here. And then there's additive packages that you can put in to help with air bubbles and with surface tension on the water. So one thing, if you are going to run straight water without any kind of chemicals in there, you want to put a ground strap on your radiator, because I've had problems, especially on race cars, but we've had problems when they're sitting a long time with water in them. that they'll actually create corrosion and will actually eat the radiator from the inside out. And we found that putting a ground wire on the radiator kind of eliminated that. Hey Chris, so that's something you want to think about. So anyway, any of your cooling systems, distilled water. Now on a street rod, cruiser, anything like that where you don't have to worry about sanctioning bodies, then you want to run coolant. And I have found that your newer, like the Motorcraft Gold, the Dexcool, whether it's GM or Prestone, or some of your universal coolants, are what you want to run. You want to run something that's low in silicons, because silicons will cause corrosion. But all your newer factory coolants, like the Gold and the Dexcool, those are made for these late model engines that are all aluminum head, aluminum intake, aluminum block. We ran into this years ago with the old school cars when we ran the old school green coolant, and you'd put an intake on. Everything's iron from the factory in a brass radiator. You put aluminum intake on, and you take it off a year or two later, and it's got all this corrosion built up inside it. Or if you've taken a car apart that's been sitting for a long time, I mean, you actually got to dig out the cooling passages because it's just all this fuzzy crap that's turned in there. And that's because that antifreeze didn't have anything to stop corrosion in aluminum. It wasn't an issue with iron, so they didn't care. But you put aluminum products on there, now it becomes a problem. So in my shop, this is what I use. I use Dexcool. It works well. There was some issues back in the late 90s. I don't know if Mike's in tonight yet, but if anybody had a Vortec engine, they had the big, thick plastic intake gaskets, they would leak. And that became a problem. In fact, it was a lawsuit against GM on that. But what it was is that the Dexcool was there's a certain style of nylon plastic that the Dexcool would eat, and certain silicone. So they never tested for that, so it'd eat the gasket out, and you'd have a problem. Yeah. Hey Bill, I see Mike's here. Yep, never seen that before, right? But they've made better intake gaskets for those older Vortec engines. There's theories that maybe GM may have changed the formula in the Dexcool a small bit because that problem has seemed to have gone away. But I like it because it was made for LS blocks. That's most of the stuff that I work with. So I like, if the motor has a lot of aluminum in it, I like to use the Dexcool antifreeze for a street car or a cruiser, whatever. Now the aftermarket has gotten into it, so you've got Redline. They make this super cool coolant. It's supposed to help. It's got water wetter built into it, and it's supposed to be legal with some sanctioning bodies, so you'd have to check your sanctioning body to verify that. But that would be an alternative. VP has now gotten into the business. Now they have their Stave Frosty, and it is supposed to be race ready, ready to go into be used in sanctioning bodies, and as it says they're water based, non-toxic, biodegradable, all that happy stuff. So that stuff is good. I know with the VP product, I'm not sure about the water wetter product, but they are a straight fluid. It's not a concentrate. So you have to buy 2 or 3 gallons of it to fill it up. That kind of gets pricey at times. If you're going to buy antifreeze, I should have said this while we were looking at the antifreeze bottles. If you're going to your parts store and you're buying antifreeze, always buy concentrate. The
The concentrate costs maybe $2 a jug more than the 50-50 mix, but you're getting theoretically two cans of coolant for one, because you have to mix it 50-50. So that one bottle of concentrate actually makes 2 gallons of ready coolant. So it's just a tidbit. I always buy the concentrate because I want to be able to mix it and get my ratio the way I want it, and also it's a money saver. So that's the way I go with that stuff. Then there's these additives. So this is a VP cool down, and it's an additive you add to your water. They have different amounts of it that you add depending on how many gallons your cooling system uses. They say it's supposed to take up to 30 degrees cooler. I've seen maybe 10. But what these additives are doing, same as the two Redline and the VP coolants in the jug, is they're using different chemicals to change the surface tension of the water, so that you eliminate, or it tries to eliminate, air pockets like in the cylinder heads and stuff like that, and it makes the water more conducive to pull the heat out of the engine block. So that's a really good thing. That's how they're saying, the temperature change, because they're going to pull more heat out of the engine. Also, it gives lubricants for your water pump and seals, so that's always important. That's one downside of, if you only run water in your cooling system, you have no lubricant for your water pump and your seals, and obviously you have to really watch corrosion and stuff like that. There's the water wetter product. I used this probably 30 years ago. It was the first water additive that I had used. Really never saw the temperature change in it, but we used it in race cars to lubricate the water pump and try to cut down on corrosion. So it's a decent product. One thing I didn't say is the VP product, we actually have a chiller on the Smurf. So we have a refrigerant container that holds 10 gallons of coolant, and it's got a pump and a cooler and stuff in it, and it hooks to the radiator, and so between rounds we can cool the engine down rapidly. And so we use the VP cool down in that unit to keep corrosion good. It has an AC evaporator coil in it, so I didn't want the evaporator coil to corrode. But I have used this product, and I do like it. It is working well. Ryan says 30 degrees and is BS. Yes, I agree with that too. I mean, maybe if you've got a vehicle that's got bad steam pocket problems, maybe it might work, but I haven't seen it. And of course, they give you different directions. If you got coolant, if you don't have coolant, if you have this much water, they have different mixtures they want you to run. Now here's the purple ice. This is something that I started running, well, about 20 years ago when we first ran across this. That's when we discontinued use of the Redline water wetter. This works pretty darn good. In the late 90s, early 2000s, we were running stock cars with motorcycle engines that were a little 5/8 scale. Kind of like, well, they were dwarf cars or mod lights, the predecessor to the legend car. And so with that motorcycle engine, and revving it 10 grand for 30, 40 laps, temperatures would become an issue. And we did find that if we ran, we overdosed it, but we run 2 bottles of this purple ice in I guess it was about an 18 by 18 radiator, and then motorcycle engine, we would see about a 15-20 degree drop in temperature. If you ran 1 bottle, you might see 5 to 10, but with 2, it really did work. And we never had any problem with radiator corrosion or any problems with corrosion in the cylinder heads or in the water jackets or anything like that. So I like this product, and I've used it. I still use it in the shop now. I just got turned on to the VP product. I think they're fairly new, or at least fairly new to me. And I still like the Royal Purple Ice, and I think the VP cool down is equal product probably. I haven't done that much testing with it yet, but it seems to be working good. One thing about these though is if you've got an engine that's overheating, this is not going to be a fix for it. This is a helper to just maximize the system you already have. But the biggest thing is water pump lubricant and corrosion resistance. That's the biggest benefit of these products. And all these three products are all legal in all your sanctioning bodies: SCCA, NHRA, IHRA, I'm sure in WDRA. I'm pretty sure it's going to be good there because everybody pretty much uses NHRA's rule book. HSR, I'm sure stock cars, they all are okay with using this product. This is another product that I've kind of become new to. I've got a couple of drag guys that swear by this, and this is the Driven Racing Oil Coolant System Protectant. And this is a water pump lubricant and corrosion, fights corrosion. Now, one thing I will say about Driven products is they are really good about scientifically making the product well. Though it seems to me that this company would rather make the product well and not oversell it than make a sales gimmick out of it. In fact, you see on there it says reduces temperatures, but it does not give you any kind of indication of what it does. So they're not telling you that's going to be the big thing, but it's the surface tension, corrosion, prevention of corrosion, and your water pump lubricant and seal lubricant. This is a little funky though, because this product almost comes out like oil, and when you mix it in with your coolant, with your distilled water, it actually turns everything kind of a milky white. So it's a little different to look at. The first time I used it, I wasn't really sure about it, but it does seem to work well as far as anti-corrosion. We use that in Leo's 4200 in the Studebaker, and I haven't seen any corrosion in that thing. The radiator is 5-6 years old, and that car sits a ton, and it's always got all the coolant in it. So and when I rebuilt the engine, I was able to look inside the block and inside the water jackets of the heads and stuff, and there was zero corrosion in any of it. So it definitely works for that. And my buddy Mike Brill, who has 2 comp dragsters, he uses it also. So I've seen it in use. I've worked with it, but we haven't put in any street type applications, anything like that, to see what kind of what it really does for cooling system temperatures and stuff like that. But for corrosion and water pump seals, I do see that it works, and I think it's a good product. Chris says VP rate is very low, something like 2 ounces per quart. Seems really low. Well, yeah, but most cooling systems are going to be 2.5 gallons. So you end up using pretty much a bottle, and that's what I do. I put 1 bottle in a car, in an empty system. And I should step back. I didn't say this at the beginning of this. If your car has had a different coolant in it other than one of the late model Universals or the Dexcool or the Ford Gold, you must flush all the old flush all the old coolants out of the system. These new style coolants will not mix with the old green coolants. It will actually make corrosion, so you don't want to do that. You have to flush everything really well. If it's a brand new build, then it's easy peasy because everything dry and clean. But if you're going to switch a car over that's already had stuff in it, you're going to have to flush the heck out of it with water. You might even, if the water pump isn't really old, you might even want to run a cooling system flush through it just to try to get as much scale and stuff out that the green stuff caused before you put these new products in. But they do work well. This is a product I used 25 years ago. That's a really bad picture. Let me go to this picture here. It's a little better picture. This is Evans, and it's a waterless coolant. So you do not mix any water with this. The water will ruin it. We used it years ago in a 40 Ford street rod that had a 572 blower motor in it, and the gentleman cruised the car extensively on the street. I mean, there's nothing for him to put 40, 50 miles a day on the car. And we had issues with it running warm. Started out with thermostat, and then we went to restrictors. We kind of found with the smallest restrictor, we kind of could control heat pretty well, but it would eventually start building heat, and it had a hard time cooling back off, especially city use. So the gentleman, my buddy Steve, he did some research on this Evans. Oh, this is the cat's meow. And I will say one thing is it boils at 375 degrees, where coolant on a 16-pound cap will boil at about 245, 250. So I will give it that. It will not boil. The thing that I saw, well, the sales pitches are that the boiling point is 375. Because of no water, they claim it eliminates all hot spots because this product does not have any surface tension at all. It will just go where it wants to go, unlike water that has surface tension. So they claim it lowers, it lowers pressure, but they claim it lowers temperature, but I did not see that. All that we saw with it was that the car wouldn't boil over, but it would get hot. And I mean, we saw temperatures 240, 250, and it never boiled over, never pushed any coolant out of the radiator or anything like that, but it didn't stop it from getting hot. So to me, that was a fail. They were telling us that we needed to add a bigger surge tank to the cooling system, but you do run a lower thermostat, a lower radiator cap pressure with it, because it doesn't make pressure. But I haven't had very good luck with it. If anybody has used it and has good luck, I'd like to hear their story on that. Chris says about letting tap water sit a few days will eliminate chemicals in tap water. Letting the tap water sit open may eliminate chemicals, but it's not going to eliminate the minerals, and the minerals can be even worse than what the chemicals in the water are. So really should just go to distilled water only. I've used tap water myself. It's not the greatest thing to do, but really want to just go straight distilled. That's your best bet. It's going to be the best for your longevity of your aluminum components in the cooling system. So just try to stay away from the tap water. You can have your tap water in your area tested. Maybe you have low mineral count and low chemical count in your area, but without test to verify, I don't think I would rely on that, especially for new products. So we all want to go distilled. I'm thinking about trying to get distilled water delivered to me on a routine basis or something, so I don't have to go out and pick it up every time I need it. So again, here's their little flyer. If you're battling temperature gauge and corrosion test of time, we're here to help. they get this whole sales pitch, but it's, to me, I did not see it stop the engine from getting hot. All it did was stop it from boiling over. So, I mean, I don't want my engine getting that hot to boil over with antifreeze. So I definitely don't want to put this in and do the same thing. I mean, just because it doesn't boil over doesn't really prove to me it did anything good. But it's somebody's wild idea. I guess it can work. I don't know. Like I said, I was not pleased with it at all, and it wasn't a cheap product to put in. Again, you had to flush and then get all the water out of the cooling system. So I mean, it was a pain. You had to pull the water pump off, pull a couple freeze plugs out, run air through the engine, trying to get all the water dried out. It was an extensive amount of work, and then really didn't see any gains at all, zero. So again, if anybody's seen something different or has better luck, or maybe we didn't do something right, I'd be more than happy to hear about it. So one thing that gets talked about a lot on your cooling system, and this kind of goes back to your layout in your car, but we touched on air bleeds, and I got thinking about it because I saw a couple threads on Facebook. A lot of, especially turbo guys, are starting to mount radiators in the trunk because they want the cold air going through the intercooler, which is another heat. It's transferring heat out of the charge air to the ambient air. So they move the radiator to the back because that way you don't have the heat of the radiator heating the intercooler and gives it freer flow. So whenever you have high spots in your cooling system, anything that's above or near the inlet, you got to have some type of way to bleed the air out. If you have a radiator all the way in the trunk, the water lines are under the car, and then you go back up. You have to put bleeders back there to be able to fill the cooling system up. So this is a little universal bleeder. I think it's a quarter NPT, and you just loosen up the nut and it bleeds out. There's another view of another style, and yet another one that you can use a screwdriver. This kind of looks like the LT1 style that GM used, and you'll see this on some of your, especially a lot of front-wheel drive cars in the 90s. The way they had the cooling system laid out, they had high and low spots, so they had to put bleeders in multiple spots. So, but you can use these, yourself if you're relocating a radiator, or your radiator's lower than the engine block or something. You can put bleeders in to help purge the air out of the system. So then we get into filling the cooling system. So this is a funnel kit. They would call it no spill. There's a bunch of different names for it, but the idea of it is that you use these adapters and they go where your radiator cap goes, and then you've got this nice tall extension, and then your funnel goes over there. So now your funnel is a good foot above the entire cooling system of the car. So then you can pour your coolant in, and you'll see as the coolant goes in, it'll start burping the air out of the cooling system. I don't know how good it does in eliminating all the air pockets, but in a pinch it does work decent. I've used them in the past before I got turned on to the vacuum bleeders. They do seem to work pretty good, but and it's a cheap. I mean, you can get these things really inexpensive. They're everywhere for sale. Part stores, Summit Jegs, Amazon, wherever you get your car parts from, they've got them. I think they even have them at Harbor Freight. This is better than nothing. If you have nothing but a funnel right now that you're using, pick up one of these. It's much better than that. This is what I use. Most mechanics, I think, have either a Snap-on or Mac or Cornwell version of this. But they've got different adapters that go on the bottom of here. You put it on your radiator. This one actually is set up for for cones, so you can just push the cone into the radiator, so it'll connect to just about anything. But this one, you use your shop air. You open this valve here, and the shop air pulls a vacuum on the cooling system, and you can actually get, depending on what volume of air your shop compressor can run, but you can get about 27 inches of vacuum in the cooling system. You'll see all the hoses pull, close shut, and then you can take the screen, put it in your bucket that you have your cooling in, and crack this one and fill this tube so that there's no air all the way up to this valve, so that when you close the valve for making the vacuum and you're ready to fill, and you open the fill valve, there's no air to get in. It's already a clean line. Now, one thing is, you don't want to do this out of a coolant jug, because you won't be able to watch the fluid, and at first it's going to pull fast. So what I do is I use a Home Depot bucket or an old gear oil bucket, 5-gallon bucket. Pour all your mixed antifreeze and coolant, distilled water in that, and then suck it out of there. That way you have no chance of catching an air pocket because you didn't catch it before the bucket ran empty. So this works really well. Mike says a lot of the new stuff will only work with airlift at Matco, like the one I use every day. Yep. Yeah, I mean, this is the best tried and true system. When you pull the cooling system into a vacuum, it will pull all the air out of it. Now, if you're running, you got to think about your system. When you're running a really big system, say a car that's got the radiator in the back, you're going to have to leave it on this thing for quite a while. And usually what I do is, while it's moving, sucking down, I'll watch the needle. When it gets to around 25, 26, then I'll kind of walk away and come back a minute or two later, see if it's moved. And I'll do that a couple times till it's been 5 minutes and the needle hasn't moved anymore. Then I figure I pretty much got the entire system into a vacuum. But you can see when you drain coolant out of a car to do service on it, so you're really careful. You don't want to make a mess on your floor, so you drain all the coolant out of the engine and you capture it, and it's still clean and good, so you're going to reuse it. I have seen where this tool will end up taking almost another half a gallon, or at least a quart, more than what you pulled out. It gets all there out of and fills it really properly. So, really good tool. They're not super expensive. I think these are around $250 now. I did look around when I was grabbing pictures, and there's some lesser ones like this and like this one. These are available at different part stores and on Amazon. I can't say how well they work, but they may be cheaper. So I don't know. You could try one out and see. I mean, these are probably less than $100. To me, I'd rather have the good tool manufacturer style rather than this. Is a lot of plastic. You could drop it and break it. So you got to think about those things. I like the Mac and Matco Snap-on style that actually has the radiator cap locking piece on it, rather than using these cones. I've seen where you'll get a good vacuum and you're pulling it down, and then you let go of it and it cocks and creates an air pocket, and you just lost all your vacuum. So they can be cumbersome. I've got an adapter that uses cones like this for like a universal radiator tester, because so many European and Asian cars have funky radiator caps on it, so you can't have a perfect tool, a radiator cap tool for every cooling system. So I bought a cone adapter to use on those vehicles, and it's a pain in the butt to work with. So I can only imagine this would be the same thing. It's probably not going to be very effective. You're going to probably fight with it quite a bit. So that's pretty much what I got on the cooling system stuff. Hopefully that shed some light on
on what we're doing with our hot rods. You know, we don't want to spend $1,000 on a radiator and have it rotted out because we used water that had silicants and other stuff in it that created corrosion. Mike says, I just replaced mine about 6 months ago. It's a Matco. It has the radiator cap style and just used my pressure tester adapter. $400. Okay, so there you go. It's been a long time since I bought one. So $400 is what the Matco Mac Snap-on style cost. And then if you have a oddball radiator filling cap, you'd probably have to buy a radiator adapter. There's a bunch of companies that make those, especially for like the plastic tanks. You can screw them on, and then it gives you a standard radiator cap style connection where you can put your vacuum tester on. But the vacuum tester that connects to the radiator filler neck is trouble free. You put that on, turn it on, walk away, come back 10 minutes and see if you got it, if it sucked all the way down. You can also use that system, the vacuum system, to tell you if you have leaks. Now, let me preface it that it will show if the cooling system is sucking air in. So like if you didn't get a radiator hose tight and it's kind of loose on the radiator or on the water pump or something like that, or heater hose fitting, or you got a quick connect that you didn't quite get all the way on, you'll see that it won't build vacuum. So then you know that there's an issue because it's sucking air in from somewhere. But what it won't show you is if you have tight connections on everything, but you forgot to put the radiator hose on. It's not sucking air in, but once the cooling system builds pressure, it can blow the hose off. It will not show you that. So the people will tell you you can use that for leak detection, and I say yes, you can to a degree. It won't show you. It's not going to show you a leak that is not sucking air in. It's only going to show you a leak on a pressure. When it's sucking air in, it won't show you a leak on a pressure application. So, but you can always, while you have it on the car and you're sucking it down, you can go around and wiggle the hoses around your joints and see if it changes the vacuum signal. That would tell you that, hey, you're sucking in a little air in, so you do have a problem there. So just always watch that. You always want to make sure all your connections are made tight. And I didn't even think about that today, but a lot of the cars I'm building now, I'm using the Gates heat shrink sleeves. They work really nice. I do think, at least I have been checking to make sure my connections the hoses are really snug on the nipple before I pull it down. I don't know if it would work good if you had, an 1.5 inch radiator on 1 3/8 neck, and you use a worm clamp and pull that thing in, and it would seal. I don't know if the heat shrink style will pull that tight, but they do pull tight to seal. I've tested them up to 25 psi and had no issues at all. They look really nice with no hose clamps on everything, especially when like you're doing a LS swap and you've got to piece two hoses together because nobody makes a hose to fit your radiator. So you could use a small piece of pipe as a nipple to put two hoses together, and you can put the bands on it, and it looks real nice. People wouldn't even notice it's there. So it does work out nice. Of course, there's T-bolts, and there's a couple other the custom car builders. There's a couple guys that make custom hose clamps that look really nice. So there's a bunch of stuff you can do to clean up your connections, make all that stuff look nice under the hood. Of course, another thing that I do a lot of times, if people want it, but I'll make hard lines out of stainless or aluminum, and then just use silicone or rubber connectors to join everything. It's a nice look when you've got a big piece of you got a radiator hose coming from the left side of the radiator going to the right side of the engine for the inlet, especially like on LS. And so you can just use a short 4-inch coupler at the radiator and have the stainless or aluminum make the 90 go across, another 90, then another little coupler at the other end. Just got to make sure you got enough wiggle room in there for engine movement on the motor mounts, but that comes out real nice. Mike says, do you bother using AN fitting style radiator hoses or not worth it? I don't believe it. The dash 16 and dash 20, I mean, the connectors alone, or the fitting hose ends alone are, $40-50 a pop. And then, unless you have a radiator that's already got a AN adapter on it, now you got to weld on the radiator. I hate welding on brand new radiators. You have to worry about, if the fins are in the header panel by epoxy, you got to really watch how much heat you put in there. You don't want that to mess up. So you gotta, what I'll do is put the radiator on the bench and fill it like a 1/4 inch away or 1/2 inch away from where the weld is going to be, to try to keep everything cool. Now the Cup car has the Cup car has a 6-16 on it, and I don't want to put a radiator hose on. So what I bought there was a -16 female welded bung, and I'm just going to weld a piece of 1.5 inch tubing to it, and then I'll be able to put my regular radiator hose on that and get it done. So Chris says, nice show, a sample please. Which component? The heat shrink pieces or the AN stuff? Which part would you want to see a sample of? The other thing with the AN stuff, love the hard lines. AN is nice, but a lot of work. Yes, a lot of work and very pricey. I mean, it's by the time you buy a thermostat housing with AN fitting. Okay, the Gates heat shrink. Yeah, I'll have to put. I don't think I have any pictures. Well, while we're talking, let me look, because I think I do have pictures from Joe's car. But yeah, the by the time you buy a thermostat housing, it's AN. You buy the female hose end there, 1.5 foot of braided hose, and then 45 or a 90 for the other end, and then fitting the weld onto your radiator. I mean, you're way over $150 just for an upper radiator hose. So it's kind of hard to want to do that. It's a lot of money, and and the hose is very stiff, so it doesn't. You got to get your angle fittings proper. It's very difficult to make that work right. So let me looking up some Joe's pictures, see if I can get a picture of the Gates stuff. Nope. But yeah, so the braided stuff, or the heat shrink stuff, is really nice to work with. Still haven't quite found a picture yet, but I'm digging. But yeah, so yeah, the cooling systems are complicated enough. You really don't want to make them more complicated by having to deal with AN. When I notice when I'm messing with AN stuff, I end up having to buy 5 or 6 different angle fittings, and then try to find the fitting that use the fittings that are going to work right. All right, here we go.
So let me stop this. Where's my stop button? So here's the heat. This is the Gates heat shrink pieces. So you just find, it comes in different sizes. You find the OD of your radiator hose when it's on the nipple. So like your radiator or your water pump, because that's sometimes you notice how you have to work the radiator hose on. So you don't want to, if it's got an 1.5 inch hose, you don't want to get an 1.5 inch heat shrink, because by the time you put it on the nipple of the radiator, you won't be able to get it on. So you got to put the hose on, measure it, and then use the appropriate piece. But the good thing is these are only like between $3 and $8 depending on the size. So I've got a box full of them of all different sizes. So I'll just measure it and I get the right one, put it on there, and you know, heat it up with a heat gun. You'll see like there's writing on them, and you can see when the writing starts getting really small, you know it's pulling in, and you'll see actually the band actually pulling into the hose. And then I just take a little lacquer thinner and wipe all the writing off so it looks nice and clean. So I'll just play. You see, there's a pretty good angle. This one, you can actually see. You know, I don't know if I can zoom in on this. Don't think I can. Nope. Nope. So yeah, but if you look real close, it might be hard depending on what kind of device you're looking at. But you can see that heat shrink is actually pulled. It's actually smaller than the rubber where it bulges over the nipple of the radiator. So it does pull down pretty nicely. And like I said, they make them for heaters. You can get them all the way down to fuel line size. I don't know. Let me see if you can see it. No, I didn't have it on there. But I actually used a piece of braided -6 line for the vacuum, or for the breather port. It's on the valve cover here on the LS. And I actually used one of those heat shrinks to finish off the hose, because obviously it didn't have a fitting. And if you put a hose clamp on there, you still see all the fraying of the lines and stuff. So, you know, I used it on there and was able to cover all the fraying, so it looked super clean. Let's just run a minute and see if we see any other angles here. I guess not.
So yeah, so that's how that stuff works. As far as Chris asked how hard it is to remove and reinstall. So it's real easy to remove. You cut it off. And then to reinstall, you put a new one on. They do make a tool that cuts it, and it has a flat, so you don't damage your hose, but you can do it with a razor knife if you're very careful and take your time. Just kind of going through these videos to see if there's any more pictures of anything that would do anything. I guess that was pretty much it. So anyway, so that was those are the Gates pieces. I like them a lot. They work out real well. You can buy a tool for them to cut the hose off if you wanted. Let me see. I probably can bring up a picture of that. No, that's not it. Sorry about that. I'm trying to do this without ignoring you guys too bad. But yeah, so the tools are pretty easy to use. But like I said, you do have to cut it off. You have to put another one on. So that's the downside of it. But not that bad. Sorry, I'm trying to get that. Let's see if we can get this here. Alright, so I found the tool. I can just get the picture up now. Where'd he go? I apologize. I should have been prepared for that. And it's taking a second to open. But yeah, so that's the easier way of going. Hose clamps are nice, but it's always hard to hide the hose clamps. Now, I have seen some people do some creative stuff. Slide heat shrink, black heat shrink over your regular worm clamp, and then just trim it as needed so it doesn't get caught in the end of the worm. So that's a pretty neat way of doing it. I got you the tool now. So
this is the tool. Kind of hard to see. I was hoping I could make it larger, but it doesn't seem to be. But there's a little cutter and there's a little end piece on the end. You just pull it together and it slices the heat shrink without damaging the hose.
I've got one. I haven't ever used it. I haven't had to replace any of those as of yet. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much it for the cooling system as far as coolants and water and stuff like that. There's a lot of different stuff out there. You just want to check to make sure it's not corrosive. If it's usable in late model cars, pretty much guaranteed it's going to be good for what you're working with. So Chris says, what's next in your race schedule? So as far as my scheduling is here in the shop, I'm going to try to make the Cup car make the Brass Monkey Bar show on Friday night if I can make it. If not, I might do Rosalita's Mexican Grill car show on Saturday night. I'm hoping to get it to where it actually starts and runs and drives. That way I can start working it out to get it ready for LS Fest. The next stuff we have, once I get all the components back and wire up Smurf, we're supposed to test that mid-month. And then I believe at the end of the month, Labor Day weekend, or the Friday, Saturday of Labor Day weekend, we're supposed to be racing. I'm not even sure. I'm thinking it's Darlington, but I'm not sure. Other than that, that's about all that I have in the near horizon for racing. As I said in the beginning of the show, we got the turbo back for the Studebaker. So once I get the turbine housing modifications done, and we get the turbo back on the engine, we'll be definitely doing some testing with that car. Unfortunately, the weather's not great now, but by the time we get it back together and stuff, it'll probably be starting to get cool. And that we may, I don't know, I'll have to speak with Leo, but we used to go to Drag Strip Riot, which was like a vintage race weekend up at Orlando, and that was Halloween weekend. So I don't know if we're going to try to do that again this year, but we'll see how that goes. That's pretty much it. I haven't gotten too much of a schedule for the rest of the year for Smurf. And, as far as big shows, we got LS Fest coming up. 6th, 7th, and 8th, I believe it is. It's the weekend after Labor Day. Always is every year. So you can mark your calendars for every year, because that's exactly the same. It's the same weekend following Labor Day every year. So that's going to be the next big event. And then may try to do Cruising the Coast. They got some autocross stuff up there. And St. Lucie County, they have some autocross up there. That once I get the Cup car, track prepped and everything, after LS Fest, it will be. We'll go ahead and try to get some of these autocross events and get some footage of the car, what it's going with. So it'll be interesting to see. And once that car is done, then I can my spare time get back on the Vet Hawk. That's been sitting in the trailer, patiently waiting to see the light of day again. So that the next venture on that will be roll cage and start working on framing out the floor pans and stuff like that, getting all the substructures all finished up, and then we can start working on hanging the body permanent and wheel tubs and that stuff. I did get, I'm sure I mentioned it a couple of months ago, I did get the Dana 44 HD case from Newman Car Creations. It was something that they built years ago, and they closed up the shop a number of years ago, and they decided to go ahead and start emptying the shelving, and lo and behold, they had about 10 housings, and I was able to get one and the Batwing. So I definitely got a good structure for the rear diff in that car. And I probably when I get it out and start doing the layout or the tubing and structure, I'll probably figure out wheels again and go ahead and get some wheels ordered so we can get the proper wheel and tire on that car, and start getting that thing, set up as it's going to be. So, but that's as far as I know. Scheduling. We're gonna be in town for a while now, so we get that done. Chris, I made your list for your fuel cell. I think I got some pretty good ideas for there, and I think the cost is going to be very, very good for you. So give me a call or stop by the shop, and I'll give you that paperwork, and you can start tracking down some of the parts. We'll have to make a couple of the parts ourselves, but the rest of it, we can pretty much buy everything else. And I've got the can for that fuel cell, so you can come over and get that whenever you want, and you can start working on the trunk of the car to make it fit, make sure it's going to fit, do all your measuring and all that stuff. So that's pretty much with that. I don't know. I will work on this week to see if there's anything else we need to cover on the cooling system. If you guys have any questions about cooling system, it's something I didn't cover, put it in the comments, and I'll definitely get on that. And if everything is pretty much done on cooling system, then I'll figure out something to move on next. So maybe, I know we'll be doing the fire up on the Cup car, so maybe I'll do a Holly tutorial on new engine fire up and stuff like that. And just wanted to let you guys know that I do have an engine build video coming out, and I have the video coming out on the Cup car, but I gave you guys first view of the engine and the engine in the car. I did put something on Facebook last week, but they were drilling me for stories and stuff to further get to the next level with the landis.performance.center Facebook page. So I did a quick video on the motor in the car because I had nothing else that I could show, so I wanted to get it done. So, but yeah, that's one of the things. Anytime there's anything new, you guys will definitely see it here before the video actually comes out for that, because it takes time getting the getting all the editing done and getting all that stuff put together and stuff. So I do need to get off my butt and get some videos. I got a couple of them that just need to be finished up and get them on the channel. Just workload with trying to get my own cars done has been crazy. And thank you, Mike. So I think I have located a person that's going to be able to work on the my drawings for merch. I tried my hand at a design, and when I sent it to one of these companies that does first-hand or call-on-demand printing, so in other words, you give them your design, they print them as the orders come in. You don't have to put any inventory in, but they take 90% of the price of the shirts. I gave them a design that I made, and it came out actually came out the way I designed it, but it's not the. I thought that they would know not to, it was a mess. I think I showed them on one picture. I wanted white. I wanted to do dark shirts, so I had to do all the print in white. So to see it when I was laying it out, I had to put a black background. Well, when I got done with the file, I thought I had removed the background, but when I sent it in to the t-shirt guy and they made the shirt and they sent me the sample, it had a big black box on the shirt, and I mean that was nasty. I mean it would be a hot spot. It would be it'd be so uncomfortable to wear, and then at a price point that it was going to be expensive. So I decided not to do that. So anyway, I found a local guy, and he says he can do print on demand, and so I gave him my drawings, and he's coming up with making some final production shots of what they're going to look like. He's going to be a lot more reasonable on his cost, so we'll be able to lower the cost on the shirts to where it's advantageous to buy. I mean, to me, to buy a t-shirt for $20 to $25, it better have some pretty significant meaning or something. It's a lot of money to lay out, and I kind of want these to be something that you wear around the shop or whatever. So you're not going to spend $25 and then wear the shirt and lay under the car and work on the car and stuff like that. So I want them to be affordable, where you can buy multiples and use them and wear them to shows and whatnot. So I'm hoping to get them down in the $15 range. That's my target. So I'll let you guys know. Hopefully I'll maybe next week I'll be able to show some designs. So we'll see how that works out. But I think that's going to work out a lot better. And we'll be able to get that out there. So I think that's all I got for tonight. Hope the information was something you were able to learn something out of that. When I was doing the research, I knew that distilled water was the way to go, but when I was doing some information, reading information on this stuff, they really pushed the issue about the minerals and the chemicals in the water and how they're detrimental to the raw aluminum. So, we all need to just start using distilled water only. Just do that, and you won't have any issues. So, anyway, so yep, that's that's our story for tonight, and we'll see everybody next Tuesday. Thanks for watching. Remember, click the like button or the thumbs up button if you like the show. It helps the algorithm with YouTube. If you haven't subscribe. It's free. It doesn't do anything to you except for you'll get information that whenever I put a video up, and just helps out everything. Everybody gets more stuff. See, Rick was in. Rick, no problem, man. I love sharing everything. Keep working on that 55. You should be getting that rear end back together pretty soon here, getting it back on wheels. So keep making farther progress, and that goes for everybody. Get out in the shop and work on your hot rods. The only way you're gonna be able to get them done is to work on them. And well, it's just the only way. You just got to lay hands on it and put time in. That's it. It's the only way it gets done. So, anyway, with that, I think we're going to call it a night. You guys have a good night. And we'll see everybody next Tuesday. See ya.